Welcome Home, a podcast for veterans, about veterans by veterans, is a project of Willing Warriors and the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run.
Good morning. I'm your host, Larry Zoliak, Director of Culinary Services here at the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run. And today, our guest is Jim Porter. He's the president of the Freedom Museum in beautiful downtown Manassas. It's an amazing local museum. Not really seen anything quite like it anywhere else that I've traveled in the country. But we're going to talk to Jim about his background, how the museum came to be, and what it's all about. So, Jim, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks very much for having me. I'm honored here.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself and what is your background and what led you to the museum?
Well, I was born and raised in California, graduated from California State College at Long Beach, and was looking at the draft. In fact, I had gotten drafted, received my draft notice.
What year was that?
1968. And so I quickly went to the services to see what was available. And my idea was that I would try to, in that my history background at the college didn't qualify me for a high-paying job. So I thought maybe if I learned something in the service that was useful, that would try to make the service work for me. And the option was a 2-year enlistment or anything that required a lot of training, required more time. So when the Navy offered me the opportunity to go to Pensacola to flight school, that was the dream come true.
Yeah.
So I was on the airplane to Pensacola. I realized that was the first time that I had been flying. I had no flight experience before being selected, and so I was sort of scared into excellence because everyone around me seemed to know a lot more about flying than I did. I managed to have a 26-year career in the Navy, ended up being promoted to Captain 06, and I've been incredibly blessed. And then the Admiral called me one morning and said, Jim, we're doing some consolidation, and it doesn't look like you're going to get promoted, so you are going to be looking for a job. So I said, okay, well, the Navy told me to join, and now they're telling me to leave. And I was happy for every minute that I was in the Navy. It was an adventure, the whole thing.
What did you fly?
I flew aircraft early warning aircraft, the E-1B and then the E-2B and C. And then I had an exchange duty with the Royal Navy, and I got to fly their Gannet, which was their AEW airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of flying. I got to command a squadron. It was everything that I could have asked for.
It's carrier-based?
Carrier-based.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got about over 900 carrier landings.
Wow.
And I have more than most because one, I was an instructor pilot in carrier landings in Corpus Christi, and then the Gannet, the British airplane, was a single-piloted airplane, so you didn't have to share landings with anybody. You got them all.
There you go.
Which is a blessing or a curse.
So this time frame, 68, flight school, you're out 70. Are you flying over in Vietnam?
Yeah, we went to the first deployment I was on, which was as soon as they could get me out there. It was in 69. I was on the USS Ticonderoga, and so we spent 3 or 4 months in the Gulf of Tonkin, and our job was to check airplanes in and out, feet wet and feet dry, and then conduct a SAR if it was necessary. And if I was being shot at, I was doing my job wrong. So I was not a combat pilot. I didn't feel like I was. But we did our part.
Yeah, sure.
And then I think I made 2 deployments, and then I was up for shore duty and went to Corpus Christi to be an instructor pilot.
Yeah. So now you separate from the Navy after, what did you say, 26 years? Yeah. What's going on then? What do you go into then?
Well, I took a look at being an airline pilot, and I was weighing whether being gone 15 days a month was worth it. because I had 12 deployments in my career, and I wanted to be home.
Yeah.
Initially, when I went to college, I wanted to be a school teacher, so I thought maybe that was my lot in life. And so when a piece of paper came across my desk that was looking for NJROTC instructors in high school, I thought it was an opportunity for me to get my nose under the tent, so to speak, and find out what teaching in high school was about, and then see if I wanted to be in administration or if I wanted to be a classroom teacher or guidance counselor. I had no clue because the cultures were pretty different.
Yeah.
So I had an opportunity to be a blank holder at Osborne Park High School and JROTC. And I did that for 17 years or so. And it was really fun. The kids were fun. I got to construct our own little military society inside the public school. Nobody knew what we did, so nobody could tell us what to do. My boss was had two bosses. My boss was in Norfolk, and I saw him once a year. And my everyday boss was the principal of the high school. And as long as my kids weren't pounding on his door to tell him what a bad guy I was, he pretty much left me alone. So we were supported by the Navy. The kids wore uniforms. We told them what military manners were like, and it was a really joyous experience for me the whole time.
Well, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about then your transition to the museum and how the museum came about. What does that look like?
Well, while I was still an NJROT instructor, I had met Chuck Colgan Jr., who was a Vietnam vet. And when he came back from Vietnam, he was looking for things to do. I think he worked for the telephone company, but it wasn't very fulfilling for him. He talked to his dad, and his dad told him that he had a commission that was doing research on World War I, people from Manassas that participated in World War I, because they were going to build a monument. They were going to build a monument in Prince William County for World War I veterans. And so when he completed that project, he went back to his dad and said, we have all of these people that have great service records that are going forgotten because there's nothing that acknowledges them. We need a museum.
Mm-hmm.
So Chuck Colgan, if you ever knew him, he was a guy who could get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And he appropriated some money from the state, plus all of the people that he knew. They kicked in, and they created a museum at the Manassas Regional Airport. There was nothing in the airport at the time or in the terminal that had just been built, and so the museum fit in there well, and quite a nice museum.
When was that? When did the museum start?
Around 1999.
Okay.
And then they started having air shows, and there was a big dreams to be in some sort of affiliation with the Smithsonian and all kinds of things that would bring people to Prince William County and to Manassas.
Yeah. For our listeners, too, that aren't in the area, so we're talking about Manassas, Virginia, which is in Prince William County, a little bit south of Loudoun, west of Fairfax, in the Northern Virginia area, just so people know where we're talking about.
30 miles west of Washington, D.C. So the airport became the busiest regional airport in Virginia, and there were dreams of expanding it to include a scheduled airline. And the management there felt that the museum was in the way. So we were asked to leave, and so we started looking for opportunities out in the community. And fortunately for us, the Hibbs and Giddings building, which is on the corner of Center Street and West Street in Manassas, which is in the heart of this little small,
right downtown,
historic district, became available. And so we hogged body and soul and moved our museum into a storefront, which was a lot smaller than what we had experienced at the airport. So it meant downsizing and putting some things in storage and trying to decide what would best tell the story of our veterans. And so what we achieved, I think, at least feedback that from people that visit there, is a place that is chock full of memories, chock full of things that spur your memories of your own service or your family's service. And probably the biggest reason for the museum is our wall in the back, where we have the names and pictures of 167 men and women who gave their lives for their country that are from Manassas Park, or Prince William County. Mm. And so if you come there to visit, that's the last thing that you see, and hopefully that's a memory of the patriotism of the region that we live in.
So the museum theme is all about the service of veterans from Prince William County. So when you're in the museum, and I love the museum because you really see the detail. You see these are things that have been given to you by the actual service member. So and it's from a variety of conflicts too. It's not just World War II or Vietnam. It's even recent conflicts. So you get a taste of military life through various conflicts and times, and it's just a great place. But I've got to believe that moving down there was really a blessing in the sense that it's much higher visibility. Your traffic must be much higher there because you're right downtown. A lot of activity takes place with farmers market on the weekend, and you have all sorts of events held at the pavilion, which is right across the street. Have you found that there was a big traffic increase and maybe a little bit more support for the museum because of moving?
Yes. We opened on the 4th of July 3 years ago. I think we had 200 and some visitors in our storefront in about 4 hours.
Wow.
And that's when we realized that our museum was no longer about airplanes, because when we were at the airport, that was the focus. Our museum became about our community, the one we live in, and the ones who provided artifacts that people see there. And it's very personal because you realize that the Norton bomb site isn't just a piece of machinery. Right next to it is William Baker's flight jacket and World War II hat, and a little story about after he got out of he came to Manassas. When he got old, he actually died at Birmingham Green in the nursing home, and some of that stuff was from his estate. So there, it has a personal context. He has a diary, and when you go through and you look at the things and you get a feel for, gosh, that was his weapons of war, and this is real. And the Norton bomb site is mounted on a plow disc because when he left the service in his second career, he was a gentleman farmer in Nokesville.
Yeah,
and he wanted a conversation piece that included his entire life. So he has a Norton bomb site. It's what he did in World War II, and it's mounted on a plow disc. Is what he was doing as a farmer. So it's kind of neat.
How many individual exhibits do you have as it relates to like people in the museum right now?
Gosh, I haven't counted them, but I would imagine there's probably 50 or 60 exhibits or artifacts that represent somebody's service.
Yeah. I've never seen a museum like this before. Are you aware of any other kind of local museums like this that highlight the service of their community, the members of their community? I've never seen anything like it.
Well, I haven't seen any museums like ours exactly, but there must be some because it just makes too much sense. You have to honor the people that you live with.
Yeah, well, that's giving a lot of people a lot of credit there. I'm not sure if I'm willing to go that far, but what's the webpage where people can go to get more information?
We're at freedommuseum.org.
Okay.
.org.
And I'm guessing, like every other veteran service organization, when you get to the webpage, up on the top right-hand corner is a button that says donate. And so My listeners know that when I talk about a veteran service organization, the thing I talk about the most is go to that webpage, look at everything and check out the resources, but hit that donate button. Go ahead and give $5, $10, $15, $20, $1,000, whatever you can. They can use the donation. Like any nonprofit, it's a struggle. Funding is a struggle. So you recently had a gala, and I attended. I had a great time there. And was it successful for you?
It was immensely successful. And I got to give credit, and you run an organization and you know how important your volunteers are.
Oh, yeah.
My wife got tired of being a museum widow, and she took over the fundraising project. And man, she did a bang-up job.
Yeah.
We raised enough money for almost our entire budget in one night.
Wow.
So it was tremendously successful.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate donations. We don't charge admission for the museum. We figure if you served or if you have family that served, you shouldn't have to pay to see the military artifacts that you can identify with.
Sure.
And you should be able to enjoy those, whether you have 25 cents in your pocket or $250,000. It's the same, free to enter, and then you can donate as you can.
Yeah. Well, I think the operative word there is you raised almost the amount to cover a year's budget. So that means when you go to the webpage, which is freedommuseum.org, you want to hit that donate button and give what you can so that they can have their entire budget for the year. Because it's not only the budget, but there's also stuff that comes up and things need repair. All sorts of expenses that come up. And so please give what you can. Jim, what's the one thing, as we kind of wrap up here, what's the one thing you want our listeners to know about the museum?
I think that all the people that work there are volunteers. Almost all of them are veterans, and we've learned that the thing that we sell there is a museum experience. So when you come in the door, someone will greet you. You can have somebody walk around and be your tour guide, or if you say that you just would like to walk around and read, some people like to do that, then we'll just leave you alone. You can do that. But I think that if you come, you can expect to have a pleasant, positive museum experience. And anybody who likes museums always likes the education factor, the drama that's in all the stories and around the artifacts, and our wall. And if I can, I just tell you a real quick story.
Sure.
One time when we had just opened up in the first months, I was looking around to see who was in the museum, and there was a woman who was standing by the wall, and I could tell that she was having an emotional experience. She was crying softly, and I went over to see her, and I asked her if I could help her, and she said, "No, you already have." I said, how is that? She says, "Well, I'm a Gold Star mom, and this is my son."
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that he hasn't been forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the most important thing is my son gave his life for his country, and if he's forgotten, it was all for nothing. But I can see you have recorded his name, and he's here, and thank you so much for having it.
Yeah.
So on that day, it was really good to be a museum operator.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the museum has an impact on people, and it varies depending on something as personal as that. But also, I know when I've been to the museum a number of times, but I remember thinking that, wow, all these people were in the community, and I'm sure I might have interacted with them somewhere.
Sure.
Gas station, Starbucks, who knows? And you don't realize the level of commitment that your neighbors make, and that those people who decide to join up voluntarily, it's a volunteer service. It's just a really good reminder of the commitment that a lot of people in your community have made and continue to make to keep us safe. And so I really applaud you for the museum. It's a fantastic place. If you're not in the area, go to freedommuseum.org and check it out. Donate for sure. If you are local to the Northern Virginia area, please go. Stop in. What are the hours?
We're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay.
So we basically open at 2 to 5 on Thursday and Friday. We're open 10 to 5 on Saturday, and we'll open at 1 to 5 on Sunday.
Okay. So there's plenty of days for you to go and see. Manassas is a really cute little town. It's got great restaurants. I remember years ago living in McLean and coming to Manassas because it was out in the country, which now that I live out here, it's kind of silly, but it's a great town. There's a lot to do. Most importantly, you just want to go downtown and go to the Freedom Museum. So Jim, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So for our listeners, if you have any questions or suggestions, you can reach us at podcast@willingwarriors.org. We'll have another episode next Monday morning at 0500 for those of you who like to get up early and listen to podcasts. Until then, thanks for listening.
The Welcome Home podcast is brought to you by Willing Warriors, a nonprofit organization serving active duty service members and veterans since 2012. To learn more, please visit our webpage at willingwarriors.org.